Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Second Lieutenant Jose Aguilar. I am a part of 2nd Bridge Platoon, and I will be giving you guys the presentation on ACE, Care Escort, or our Army Suicide Prevention Program. There's a couple key themes to this presentation, specifically going over Care and Escort, those three portions, as well as also breaking some stigmas and giving you guys a chance to practice suicide prevention strategies. And finally, there are also a plethora of resources that I hope we can take away from this presentation. They actually front load the resources right here, so you can pause the video right now to copy this into maybe your phone or in an important space, because suicide prevention is about looking out for your fellow man and your battle buddy. So it's important that you have these resources on you at all times if the situation comes up, so you can instantly reach out and help your friends with whatever they need. But again, we will be seeing the resources in the last slide of this presentation, so feel free to just keep watching, and we'll get to the resources eventually. But first off, for the presentation, the first thing is to be aware of what's in your ruck. Don't just suck it up. So essentially, kind of do a self-examination of yourself as well. Because on the left-hand side, we have risk factors and protective factors. So essentially, I know this is pretty obvious, but you want to have more protective factors than risk factors in your life. Two, for yourself, and maybe when you're watching other people, kind of have yourself and other people less vulnerable to suicidal thoughts. Also, as we can see on the left-hand side, you can see failed relationships, suicide history in the family, prior suicide attempt, poor social skills, mood disorders, drug, alcohol abuse, financial stress, legal, and access to lethal means. A couple of these are pretty obvious, like family history of suicide and prior suicide attempt, mood disorders. However, some things like poor social skills, failed relationships, financial stress, in terms of poor social skills, people won't necessarily think of that as a risk factor, but failed relationships and financial stress, those things aren't super vulnerable or super visible. And a lot of times people keep these things kind of hidden. So it's very important to be able to reach out to your battle buddy and just kind of get an understanding of how they are, notice any small changes in behavior, and just get to know each other so that you can help them out. And that goes into our right side of this chart, protective factors, having positive social relationships like a battle buddy system, available healthcare, specifically physical and mental health supports, which are within this presentation, coping ability, belief in a higher power or faith, participation in group activities, getting help when needed, and personal/professional values. A lot of these protective factors is within your realm or your scope of being able to do so yourself. Getting help when needed, available medical care, developing personal and professional values. However, you do need to devote time to giving yourself these protective factors to help yourself not really develop suicidal thoughts. So do keep in mind there is something that you can actively do about it, but you do have to keep in mind some of these risk factors are outside of your control. So warning signs. There's a lot of a little bit more obvious stuff in here, like talking about killing oneself. But again, like I was saying previously, some of these things are a little bit more invisible, not as visible, like financial and legal problems, relationship issues. A lot of times you don't know if your battle buddy is going through a lot of these things, and these can all be risk factors in suicide. So it's important to look out for these warning signs by looking at these protective factors, developing these positive social relationships, getting to know your battle buddy, and being able to help them out if things might go south. So now we actually get to the practical strategies. So we're getting into that ACE portion. So A is ask. Ask your buddy, like I've been saying. Have the courage to ask this question, but stay calm. I know this is probably going to be one of the hardest things to do, directly reaching out to your battle buddy and saying, hey, are you having these questions of suicide? Are you thinking about killing yourself? There's a couple of things. One, you don't want to do it in a joking manner, obviously, but then two, be very direct about it. I know it can be pretty awkward, especially if you guys are like really good friends, or I guess it's also awkward if you're not good friends, but it's important to actually reach out, be direct, and be calm when asking if someone is considering such an action. So they give you different examples. Obviously, you're not going to use these exact examples. It's going to be a little bit more fluid to how you usually talk to your friend. But I do think that this is a good template for basically accomplishing the ask portion of ACE. So there's an escalation, obviously. So first you just ask in general, how's your weekend? How's your TDY? But basically just getting to know how your friend is doing. Because remember, like we said, some of these warning signs can be a little bit invisible, so it's important to have a general understanding. Number two, you see them after game, what's worrying you? So identifying that they are acting a little bit differently, there's something that's a little bit off. So actually trying to target that issue, but letting them bring that issue to the forefront instead of you yourself. Going on to the level 3, where you ask them what exactly do they need, and then level 4, being incredibly direct about it to be sure that they aren't thinking of doing such an act as suicide. Finally, we're at C, care. Care for your buddy. So after you ask, again, it's important to be that calming presence in their life when things seem to be spiraling out of control for them, people with suicidal thoughts. Obviously, they're not feeling so great about things, and that's why they're considering such an action. So it's kind of puts on you to be calm and be that calming presence in their life. Actively listen, that's a huge thing, and show understanding and produce relief. Remove any means that could be used for self-injury. That's also a major aspect of what you should be trying to do for your battle buddy. So again, I really like this level system they have. Obviously, it's not going to be so regimented for you guys, and it's not going to be the exact same because you will have your own way of interacting with your battle buddy. But just clarifying that you're there to help, being an active listener, and giving them that understanding that they have supports. They're not alone in whatever struggles they're going through. And again, level 3 and level 4 are very similar, but continuing to consciously and continually give them this support that they feel they might need when they're all alone, struggling with such a thing. Escort. This is a big thing. It's really nice if you do AC, but you have to do E to make this system actually effective. So escort your buddy. Never leave your buddy alone. Escort your buddy to chain of command, chaplain, behavioral health professionals, or primary care providers, called the National Suicide Prevention Line. This is one of the big things that you're going to actually take away from this brief, because I'll be giving you guys these resources that you need to be able to accomplish the escort portion of this suicide training. So again, don't leave your buddy alone. Take your buddy to the ER or chaplain. This is going to be a hard thing a lot with suicide. If they're struggling to actually reach out and get resources, have them do it in front of you. Have them contact these resources that I'm talking about in front of you so they get the help that you need. And then if you're on the phone or texting, keep them talking if it's actually that dire and they're that close to doing such an action. And then find out where they are. There's multiple ways you can do that. Everyone has Snapchat. A lot of people have their location on. So there are ways to find out where they are. Just ask them where they are. Maybe they'll tell you, but send help. Utilize the resources we're going to be talking about. The things, if they're in this dire straits, they can call 911 and get them the help they need. Okay. There's a role play exercise, but I really think these kind of things are pretty powerful when you give practical examples of kind of how important it is to follow the ACE program. So they have this example, but I wanted to tell a story about my mom, actually. My mom was in the Army, and she was a second lieutenant, just like me, kind of starting out her career. She had this one soldier. Let's go back up to some of these risk factors. He had some failed relationships. He had poor social skills. A lot of people bullied him because of like a lisp he had, she told me. He also never really learned how to throw a ball effectively. So when they were at like the grenade course and stuff like that, they could tell that he was really bad at throwing like a grenade. And he got made fun of a lot in my mom's platoon because she was like a young platoon leader like me. And my mom, not even knowing of the risk factors he had, but she kind of helped him out. She developed a relationship with the soldier. My mom played softball, so she taught him how to like throw balls, and they would play softball basically together. And she gave him like a mitt and stuff. And she was acting as a kind of a huge protective factor and giving him that social relationship that he felt he needed to kind of get out of these dark thoughts that he was having that my mom was unaware of. But she took the time to reach out, ask him how he's doing. She never got to like level 4 or level 4, but she asked what she could do to help. She developed a good relationship with him. She played softball with him so he could kind of throw the ball around. She didn't make fun of him, obviously, for his lisp. And she was caring for him. She checked up on her soldier a lot of the time. And she never actually had to get to this stage of escort because this soldier kind of brought my mom up, I think, to like maybe the company commander or something. And my mom got like an award because actually before my mom got there, he was actually seriously contemplating suicide. And he really credited my mom with kind of pulling him out of those dark thoughts that he was having and actually kind of continuing on, and he could feel good about himself, which I think is an incredible thing that my mom did. And I think it's awesome. Even before like these programs were really pushed out to the Army, it's great to see that Army officers and soldiers all around the Army are practicing ACE and how effective ACE can actually be. Because who knows if my mom didn't ask him what he needed with the whole baseball situation. She didn't know that he couldn't play baseball, and that's why he couldn't throw. She didn't constantly care for him, kind of checking up on how he's doing, being an active listener. Then really things could have gone sour for this guy, and that's a huge lesson that I carry on with me. I think it's important to realize that ACE is an actually effective program, and we should take this seriously. We're winding down the presentation, but stigma, this is a huge obstacle in the way of effective suicide prevention, unfortunately. Belief that getting help will cause others to think less of you. You'll feel more alone with stigma. As it says here, stigma isolates, makes problems larger. So you have to set the example, and you have to not buy into this stigma that getting help will cause others to think less of you. Everyone needs help at some point in their lives. Maybe not something like this in terms of suicide prevention, but everyone needs help. No one's like such a macho guy or girl where they like never need any help. So it's important that we kind of try to get rid of this stigma that getting help is like a sign of weakness. And I think overall, by and large, we're making good steps towards getting rid of this negative stigma. But it's also our job to continue this forward progress that we're making in terms of getting rid of this stigma. So again, don't tolerate bullying or embarrassing people. Don't make fun of people if they have lisps, obviously. Don't make fun of people if they can't throw a ball. You don't know what kind of background circumstances they might have had. Maybe they never got into sports. Maybe they weren't a super athletic person. Offer to help someone in need. Again, if you see people getting bullied, offer to help them. Be a nice person. And then maintain a climate of trust and respect. And that's something you do every single day. This is something that's very difficult. Trust and respect, because it has to be a constant thing that you're focusing and working towards, but it's important that you do that as well. And here you go. Here are the primary resources. Please take a picture of this slide, I would recommend, or put some of these specific resources into your phone right now. I actually recommend pausing it and then doing it yourself. When I review this video to make sure that it's good, I'm going to make sure that I do the same as well. Because I really agree, and I really think that it's important that we actually get these resources available to us at hand, because you never know when your battle buddy will be experiencing tough situations. So please pause. Sorry. Yeah, just pause. Okay, so I assume if you're back, that means you've unpaused the video and you've written down all these resources in your phone or whatever source that you have available at hand to you. So again, thank you for your time. Please ask your line leaders or your section leaders or whoever if you have any more questions, and they'll send it up the chain or they'll answer it for you yourself, because this is a very important program in the Army, and it's something that I really value and I really see the importance of. So please, if you have any questions, any lingering questions, make sure that you get these answered, because this is an extremely important topic. Thank you for your time, and have a good rest of your drill weekend.